Welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be updating the reading journal for July. July was a weird month for me. I actually got a lot of reading done. I wasn't expecting to because I was fairly busy with many other things, but somehow I managed to squeak in 17 books. 2 of these you won't see in this video because one was an editing project for a client and I don't review those, but it does count as reading. And then the second one was an activity book, which doesn't really need a review spread because it's, you know, puzzles and games and things, but it counts as reading to me. So anyways, 17 books, I think that's a pretty good number for July, and I'll take it. You know, as usual, I'm just starting with a bit of decoration. I really don't have themes for my reading journals. I just kind of pick some colors and things that I think work well together. I don't have a massive stationery collection, so I do what I can. The paper that I used with the blue dots is left over from a bookbinding project. Those were the papers I used for end pages, and since I only have one of those left, I can't use it for an end paper project, so I figured I might as well use it for this. And the green paper is just some origami paper that I had lying around that I used for a bit of color. On the right hand side, I'm adding in my list of books read and the authors, which I have discovered I don't actually like filling in the star rating reviews, so you'll see me in a bit, I just fill in the number. I don't know. There's something about coloring in the stars that it irks me. I think they're such an awkward shape. Anyways, filling in some stats, I started my TBR list at 111 and I ended at 99, and I am ridiculously excited about that. I am below 100. Now, my TBR list is not all the books that I want to read. It is books that I currently own or have borrowed from Kindle Unlimited or library or whatever that I haven't read yet, and all but 4 of them are digital. These are books that I've gotten over the years from other authors and that sort of a thing who give me books for free, or I've gotten it through BookBub sales or whatever, and I am doing my best to read that down so that I only have about 0 to 10 books in my possession at any current time that I haven't read yet. The to be bought list, or borrowed or whatever, is considerably longer, and we're not going to talk about that because it's a bit terrifying. I'm just filling in here the names of books and authors that I read this month. It's so small because my handwriting is small and you can't see it, so I'm just going to gloss over it, and we'll tell you all the books when I actually get to filling in the book review spreads. I really should figure out a better method for this. Alright, now moving on to the actual spreads, you'll see I have almost given up entirely on drawing complete boxes around each book review spread. I'm not really loving the way that this book review journal, reading journal, whatever, is working for me. It's bigger than I think I need. I don't really love the square format. I mean, you can certainly fit a lot on the page, but it's just... it feels clunky and heavy and a lot, and doing the individual squares on each page, dividing it into 2, I think I like that. I think I am going to do vertical in the future, just kind of fold it in half and then do 1 on each side. I think I'd like that better. And I really would love to do better decorations. Again, my stationery collection is limited, so I do what washi tapes or stickers or whatnot that I have that work well with each one, but sometimes I don't really have anything that works well, so I just kind of improvise, and it's a work in progress. Always a work in progress. So this first book is The Evergreen Conservatory by Heather Schneider. I want to say Hannah Schneider, but that's not right. It's Heather Schneider. And It's the second book in this series, and I think it's really cute. It was, same cozy fantasy vibes, same cute little university world and the research studies and trying to figure out how the botany magic works. I really liked it. The stakes were a little higher in this book than in book 1, but not too much higher. It's still definitely a cozy fantasy. I will say that the ending was very abrupt. It was the wrong sort of cliffhanger. It just kind of stopped in the middle of a story instead of having everything tie up neatly and then introducing the next arc. But I like the world so much that I will forgive the author and probably read the next book when it comes out. This book is the book club book that I read for this month. It's called Hey Kiddo. It's a graphic novel by Jarrett last name I can't pronounce, something. It's Polish. I had the hardest time with pronouncing that name, so I'm not even going to try. You can see I can't even spell it properly. Krasashki, maybe? I don't know. Anyways, this is a graphic novel that was chosen for my book club. It's, fairly heavy. The kid is dealing with his mom who has a heroin addiction, and he lives with his grandparents, and he's, growing up and life and that sort of thing. It's a memoir told in graphic novel form, and frankly, I didn't care for it much. It was a fairly heavy topic for the illustration style. I think the illustration style felt very juvenile for such a heavy topic, and I get that that's an illustration thing and it's just not my thing, but it was heavy and I didn't really connect with any of the characters in the book or the main character. It was kind of disjointed, and I got bored, honestly. So yeah. But book clubs are, for me, about socializing because I need to get out of the house more. Anyways, moving on to Dragonflame by Melanie Ansley. This is the second book in her Riders of... Gosh, I can't remember the name of the series. I want to say Riders of Fire, but that's Eileen Mueller, so no. It'll come to me. Maybe. So this is the second book. It follows Jin on her further adventures of being a rider bonded to Reishan in the Chinese Empire. I want to say Tang Dynasty, but that I could be mistaken. My history is a bit fuzzy when it comes to the Chinese dynasties. It was a fun book. I love the dragons. I love the world. I think it's very well written, and I absolutely am excited for book 3 coming in September. The next book that I read was my 1 5-star read that was not a reread, and it was the Grimoire Grammar School's Parent-Teacher Association by Caitlin Rozakis. I will get these author names I eventually. Anyways, this was a really cute, kind of half cozy, half urban fantasy read about a family. Their daughter is going into kindergarten and she got bit by a werewolf, and so now has to go to a magical school where she's dealing with other magical animals and creatures, I guess, fae, sirens, banshees, that sort of a thing, witches, and the story is about the mom who is trying to figure out, okay, how do I fit into this world and how to make sure my daughter has the best time. And then there's some drama and adventure, and I absolutely loved this book. I devoured it in a Saturday, and it was so cute and charming, and I definitely recommend it. I was hoping for more in the series, but I think it's a standalone, which is kind of a bummer. The next book I read was Black Talon by Jamie Castle and Andy Peliquin. This was a read for the Dragon Forged Facebook readers group. It was an epic fantasy featuring Cullen, who is trying to solve a series of murders, or instigate a series of murders. He's kind of an assassin / investigator for the Empire, and he is dealing with kind of some drama in the nobility, and then Natisse, who is ironically instigating / investigating those same murders. I did not like Natisse at all. I liked Cullen quite a bit, but I could not stand Natisse, so given that it was basically half and half point of view, her and him, I struggled with this book, which is a bummer because I really like Andy Peliquin's work. I have done in the past, so this one just didn't hit it for me. The next book is Mom of the Chosen One by D.M. Fike. This is a fun urban fantasy, again, kind of a parent dealing with a magical child situation, except this time the child's a teenager and is apparently becoming the chosen one, and so there are shenanigans and protecting the teenager and that sort of thing. It was fun and cute, and I enjoyed it, and we'll probably read the next one. This next book was Stitches and Scales by S.N. Lloyd. This is a fun little fantasy about a woman who is immune to magic in a world that is basically brimming with it, and so she takes a job at a magical aquarium to try and find a cure for her affliction, I guess, and in the process she discovers that the aquarium is about to close, and so has to go on an adventure to figure out how to keep it open. And I loved this story. It's got the cutest little time travel kind of motif in there, and the magic was great, or the lack of magic in her case, and I think it was really fun. I was hoping it would be a series, but I think it's just a standalone again. The next book I read was Boy Resisting by J.H. Foster and James Woodward. This is the companion novel to the book I read last month, Sowing Resistance. It is written from the son's perspective this time, so he is dealing with the Nazi occupation of Paris and how to kind of resist quietly while, also surviving. And I thought it was a really well written story. I loved that it kind of told the same story without feeling the same. It was very nicely done. I think it dealt with a lot of heavy topics in a very accessible way, and I would absolutely recommend it for kids or adults or whoever. The next book I read was Kronos Warlock. This is the second book in the Kronos Warlock series, I think. I don't remember what the series is called. I'm terrible about that. But it follows the same character, Adair Finch. He is trying to fulfill his bargain with the Mischief Spirit Cull to find her a body, and then he has to investigate that body's murder, and there's some other magical shenanigans. I think the time travel magic in this book is quite clever, and it works really well. I think this book didn't have quite the same impact as the last book because I kind of knew how everything worked, and so it wasn't nearly as dramatic, but I loved the characters, and I think the development worked really well. Moving on, this was a fun little cozy novella called Must Love Moss and Moonshine by Maisie McGill. It's kind of I think it's a prequel novel for her Moonshine Vale series. A elf ends up in a magical forest and accidentally loses her memory and has to be taken care of by the druid who kind of is guardian of that forest. And I think it was cute and fluffy and fun. The romance was cute. The drama from the romance at the end was a bit contrived, but I mean, there are certain formulas that you follow in a romance novel, and you had to come up with something to have the drama, because otherwise they would have been just happily ever after without any conflict. And so I get it, but I think it could have been a little less contrived. Still, it was cute and fun, and I enjoyed it. The next book I read was an epic fantasy. This is A Banishing of Kings by Jasmine Young. This is the second book in her Realmbreaker series. Oh my goodness. Whew. I thought book 1 was epic and involved. Book 2 is definitely a scale kind of above that even. There's battles and politics and characters seeking vengeance and familial reconciliation and ancient magics, and I thought it was great. Bale, the Realmbreaker dragon, he is my absolute favorite, and I love him, and he's kind of a puppy dog with sharp, pointy teeth. I imagine he'll become less of a puppy dog as he gets older in the following books, but for now, he's a puppy dog, and I love him. and I will be reading book 3 very soon. I think book 4 comes out in about a week, so if you have read this series, look for that. It's very exciting. The next book I read was Spellbound at Pemberley. This is a historical fantasy, sort of a Pride and Prejudice variation, or at least it's marketed that way, where Darcy is a mage and Elizabeth is a different sort of mage, and there's some sort of connection there, so he demands that she marry him in order to fulfill a mission to kind of save England from Napoleon. And I loved the world and the magic. I thought it was very clever. I thought it was very well done. I really liked the character interactions. However, it did not feel like a Pride and Prejudice variation. Mr. Collins wasn't there, Wickham wasn't there, Lady Catherine wasn't there. A lot of the interactions between Kitty and Lydia, that just kind of got glossed over. There were whole lines of family that existed in this book that didn't exist before. It was just, I think it felt more like a marketing gimmick. Yes, here I wrote a Pride and Prejudice variation for all the people who love Pride and Prejudice like me, and it just didn't hit right. So I loved the world, I loved the magic, didn't love the Pride and Prejudice bit, which is kind of a bummer. The next book was The Wind in the Willows, a reread, one of my, most beloved childhood books. I needed a bit of cozy and happy, and this was the way to go. This is by Kenneth Grahame in 1908, I think? Early 1900s. If you don't know the story, it's delightful. Mole goes to hang out with his friend Rat on the river, and they have adventures, and Mr. Toad and Badger, and it was just fun. I love it. The next book that I read, which I have basically no good decoration for at all, I just couldn't find anything that really worked well, so I picked some kind of shiny bits and bobs, is Behooved by M. Stevenson. This is a fantasy about a woman who is going to another country to be married to their king as a part of a political treaty. So it's an arranged marriage sort of thing, only something happens on her wedding night and her husband is turned into a horse. Well, horse by day, man by night, and she has to figure out A, who tried to kill them, and B, how to fix the fact that she's now married to a horse. And, oh, by the way, it has to be done in time for the coronation. I thought it was cute. It was a fun adventure. I think the romance happened a little quickly, but, you do what you can. The next book I read was actually meant to be read in August, but I got a head start because I was looking for something fun and quick to read. This is Dragon Moon by Katrina Kopek, and it was a YA adventure about a witch who is trying to join or stay in the Coterie Academy to save the realm, only she has to bond with a familiar in order to be allowed to stay. And so events happen and she ends up bonding with a sarcastic dragon, and there's conspiracies and magic and so on and so forth. This one was, I figured out the twist at the end kind of within the first 20-30 pages or whatever, and so I was kind of just waiting the rest of the book to get to that twist point, and so I got a little bit bored all the way through. It was, fun and whatnot, but it's definitely a YA, sort of a YA. The next book I read was Deep End by Alice Hazelwood. I'm always a fan of her romance books. They're just, they hit so well with the characterization and the depth that she plumbs, and of course the romance is lovely and delightful and deals with all sorts of things. I think this one was great. The only thing I didn't like about it was that it was set at university, and I'm not really a university college romance sort of thing person. That's my one detraction. If it were set at any other setting, I'd be over the moon and be a 5-star read. As it was, I knocked off a 1/4 star for it. Yes, I'm picky. So now I'm just filling in some of my book bingos. I don't really have a lot here. I'm kind of not picking books based on the book bingo, so we're just going from there. I picked a library book and that sort of a thing. And then the bracket for what will end up being best book of the year, I guess, is Deep End, which I liked quite a lot. Will it be my best book of the year? Probably not. But for this month, it definitely was. Well, minus Wind in the Willows, which is a reread and doesn't count. So, I said I read 17 books this month. Turns out I was wrong. I miscounted. I read 18 books because I can do math sometimes. But again, 2 of those you won't see because editing and activity book. So that was July's reading. Did you have any great reads this month, or was it just sort of a mad month for you? Let me know, and happy reading.